All right, here we go. 7th grade OSTP Practice 3. We're doing pages 21 through 25. All right, we want to know what best describes the shape of this house. So, this is obviously not a square. It is not a rectangle. Is it a trapezoid? No, it is a parallelogram, because this and this side, these two are parallel, and these two are parallel. Sorry. They are also congruent, but they are parallel, which is the arrow. Okay. There we go. So it is a parallelogram, D. Which triangles always contains 3 60-degree angles? An equilateral triangle. 3. What is always true of a trapezoid? It has 2 parallel sides. For number 4, this illustration, this has to be a right angle here. And this is a good one to show you that drawings are usually not to scale. Not only are they not to scale, but the angles aren't even accurate, because we can tell that this is not a right angle, but obviously this is not obtuse, so not this one. It's not an equilateral triangle, because they're obviously not all the same. These two both say right, so this has to be a right angle. So we're just deciding, is this a right isosceles or a right scalene? Isosceles would mean that these two sides are the same length, which they are not. So it is a right scalene triangle. All right. When we have a transversal, there really are only 2 angles. That's angle 1 and angle 2. All the others are the same, either as angle 1 or angle 2. 1 and 3 are vertical angles. 2 and 4 are vertical angles. 2 and 6 are corresponding angles, so those are the same, and then the vertical angles are the same. So 6 and 8 are congruent, 6 and 8, because these two are vertical angles. We have here, what statement is true of angles 3 and 4? They are both on a straight line, so they add to 180. We call that supplementary. Number 3. What best describes angles 1 and 7? Those two are alternate exterior. They're on the outside of these 2 parallel lines and on different sides of the transversal. So alternate exterior. Number 4, angles 4 and 6 is what we're investigating. These are alternate interior. They're on the inside of these 2 lines, and they are on opposite sides of the transversal. Page 23, number 1. What kind of a transformation? Now, this transformation could either be a rotation about this point, or it could be a reflection. So, sorry, this could not be a rotation, because then that would be facing the other way. All right, so it is a reflection. It's like having a mirror right here. Right? It's reflected. This to there, this point to there. Number 2. Which of the following describes the transformation of these 2? And this is not a reflection. This is not a rotation. This is a translation. Dilation would mean that it gets bigger or smaller. In this one, this time we have a rotation. This moves here. This rotates. Oh, sorry, this rotates there, and this rotates here. That's messy. Anyways, that's a rotation. Rotation. And then here, what kind of a factor? Magnified, or obviously not translated, because that one's bigger than this one. Okay, so here we have 4. This side is 8, if you count the boxes. So we are going from QRST, so from the small one to the big one. And the big one is 2 times the size of the small one. So this is 4, this is 8. So it is magnified by a factor of 2. 2 times 4 is 8. So it is A. Page 24. What measurement do you find when you multiply a rectangle's length times the width? Length times width is the area of a rectangle. What is the perimeter of a rectangle WXYZ? WXYZ, the perimeter, remember, is adding up all the sides. Perimeter is like walking around the outside. This is also 14 since it is a rectangle. This is also 18. Add all of these up. Or you could plug it into here, say 2 times the length, 2 times the width, and you shall obtain 64. Okay, number 3. Area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. Somebody asked me today whether you can just do base times height and then divide it by 2. The answer is yes, you can. You can do base times height and divide that by 2, because multiplying by half is the same as dividing by 2. Half of 4... half times 4 is the same, half of 4 is the same as 4 divided by 2. Half of 4 is 2, whether you do 1/2 times 4 or 4 divided by 2. So, that means we can first, if we want, find half of that. That's 7. 7 times 8 is 56, and there we have our answer. You could have done 8 times 14 and divided the result by 2. Okay, either way, you get 56. Number 4. We're looking at a football field of OU Memorial Stadium. Okay, we know it's rectangular. It's 360 long and 160 foot wide. What is the area? Length times width. 360 times 160. Now, careful on these problems. Sometimes they like to trick you with the units. So make sure we've got feet, and the answer is in feet. Okay, now area, that's why we have square feet. So it is D, 57,600 square feet. Always check the units, because some of these problems, they like to trick you with the units. They'll put something in inches on there. So they like to be tricky. Make sure you're paying attention there. Number 5. All right, we're looking for the perimeter of a triangle. Perimeter is just adding up sum of all the lengths. So we've got the sides of 3.3, 5.5, and 4.4. What is the perimeter? So we have to add all of these up. 3 plus 5 plus 4 gives me 12. And then the 1 carries over. That gives me, here we go, 13.2. Boom. Number 6. We have Miss Ramirez, who drew this shape on the chalkboard. What is the area? It is base times height, 6 times 8, which is 48. Number 7, a trapezoid. Now, trapezoid, here's how I like to think of it. We average out these two sides. So 2 and 4, the average of those two is 3, times 3 is 9. There we go. You can use this formula, which is 2 plus 4 is 6 times a half. Half of 6 is 3. 3 times the height, 3 times 3 is 9. And what is the width of a rectangle that has a length of 1 foot and an area of a half a foot? So 1 times something gives us an area of a half a square foot. Foot squared. So 1 foot, that says 1 foot. 1 foot times something. 1 times what gives me a half? Well, 1 times a half. Okay, 1 times a half gives me a half foot squared. However, look at your answer options. Here we have 1 foot and a half a square foot, so we need a half a foot. Please be careful. If you pick A, you would be wrong because it says inch. See, there's one of those tricky problems. How many inches? See, these are in feet, these are in inches. Tricky. How many inches is a half a foot? 1 foot is 12. Half of 1 foot is 6 inches. So we go with C. And that's all, folks. Keep practicing and reviewing. I will see you next time.